Hi, this is Daniel Ryan with Alien in West Texas. I'm here right now with Zoe Alvarado, and we're going to spend the next few minutes talking about the backstory of Alien in West Texas, about the characters, and about the filming, and how the process is different than some of the things that we've been used to. Being in a filmed series, for anybody who ever wants to do it, first word, it's hard, okay? So hopefully by some of our experiences, if you ever decide that you want to do your own series here in Odessa, Midland somewhere, that you can learn from what we've done. So Zoe, what was the hardest thing for you to do?
Hardest not looking at the camera. Because you're looking at somebody directly and you're supposed to be paying attention to them, but there's a camera right here and you're not allowed to look in any way, shape, or form. And that proved really difficult for me. And it took a little bit getting used to it, really did.
What about the experience of doing with one camera where if you do a scene with 7 people, you have to film it at least, say, 10 times?
Oh, that gets boring. Oh, that really, it's tedious work. You have to make sure you do the same movements. You got to make sure, you stay in the same position. It can get really hard.
Well, when you see editing and things don't seem to match up, it's because person A, after take 2 or take 3, didn't do the same thing or didn't say the same lines. And with the drama, I think sometimes you could ad-lib a whole lot better than you can for a comedy. Because if I want to tell a joke, and there's one scene that I was telling somebody about with Eric, where he is supposed to feed me my punchline, but he didn't do it right, and so my punchline doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And so with comedy, we can't just say whatever the hell we want.
Right.
Because there's a joke written on that paper, and that's what we're trying to
accomplish. It just doesn't quite get there.
Now, before Alien in West Texas was Alien in West Texas, we just didn't wake up one day and say we wanted to do a series. Mm-hmm. We started out slowly. We started back in 2012 with doing Odessa After Dark, and that was a web series where basically we talk like we are now. So that was our first foray into video. Mm-hmm. And then after that we went to do some video for the 3rd edition of Music Mayhem and Madness last year, mm-hmm. Where we did one thing that with you and Kate that's never that was filmed but it's never seen the light of day, but you got to do that in the last Music Mayhem and Madness. So you've got to play the same character in a short that was filmed and actually on stage.
That was fun.
And then we did Hoarders, and I posted Hoarders today because that was one of the first things we ever did in video, and I really liked it. And so in this year, when we were going to do the Odessa acting workshop, I wanted to do a whole series. But the series that we started with wasn't the series that we ended with. And so like all things go, the inspiration for the show was to be a romantic comedy, mm-hmm. Between an artist and a waitress. And that the character of Mr. Daniels was a secondary character who moved in to live with the artist. And so he was another kind of thing that tribulation for the artist who was dating. Now this was based on a real life couple, and they broke up. So,
oh dear. Okay.
I started thinking of different scenarios that would be funny, and Odessa is still a good old boys network, regardless of what people say.
True. And
so when I've been here now 10 years, and still that feeling of outsider, that you're not part of the group.
Yeah.
And so there's so many characteristics that I thought of the outsider, which causes conflict with somebody who moves to Odessa who's liberal, who say supports President Obama, mm-hmm. Who is male, and of course is not a cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Farthest thing from it.
Right, furthest thing from a cowboy. And so that's where Alien in West Texas, that premise came from. And I actually wrote 6 parts for people in mind, and 4 of those people dropped out. So I'm never going to write another part for somebody in mind. And so the only two that actually followed through, Sarai's part was written for Sarai. And we haven't seen Sarai yet, but we're about to in episode 6.
I know, I'm excited.
And Sarai plays Sally, who is Mr. Daniel's date, or Richard's date. And then the other person was Marchette. And so Paris Washington was, written
for
Marchette in mind. So your character was Tiffany Allen. So tell me about Tiffany.
Tiffany has, she has issues. She has a lot of them. She doesn't like being touched. She has a big stick up her ass and doesn't really like to have orders disobeyed. And she's rule follower. There we go.
She reminds me of somebody who probably on their desk has everything at right angles. And
there's a space for every single one.
Right. And so she probably...
almost the exact opposite of what I am.
She probably touches everything 6 times.
Yeah. That kind of slight OCD-ness.
And what was your favorite scene to film as Tiffany?
Hitting you.
Okay, yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, at first you didn't hit me hard enough.
No, because I like you and I didn't want to hit you. But then you said hit as hard as you can, and then okay, and then I had fun with it. So much fun. I'd do it again.
Of all the characters in the show, who's your favorite?
Ooh, my favorite, Sarai.
Okay.
Sally. Yeah. I know she hasn't been introduced yet, but oh boy, you're in for a surprise.
So we get to talk more about her because we'll do this one more time with some other actors from the show. So from the shows that you've seen so far, what's your favorite moment?
Favorite moment? Bit of a tie between when Richard comes in and sees the 2 bosses eating yogurt and that whole monologue that he has. That's funny, and also the my boss has crabs.
Yes. I gotta call you back. Now, how does it feel? Because your mother played the character.
Yes.
We're about to talk to her in that scene. So what's it like watching your mother on screen?
Interesting. She did very well, which kind of made me jealous, but it was funny to have her being the butt of a joke.
Well, let's go back to the filming, because we filmed everything back in January, February.
Yes.
And so you've been in a number of plays. Now with a play, you do all the work ahead of time, you go out, you do it, you get the applause. So how different is this? Because we filmed this 6 months ago, and so we're still wanting people to watch it and like our performance.
And that's actually kind of difficult, getting people to watch a show that I hyped about so much in January and February, and a lot of people kept coming to me saying, well, where's the show? Where's the show? You just wait, you'll see it. And now that it's here, it's a bit tougher to get everybody back into it because they either forgot or just weren't interested in it anymore. But it's an interesting experience to have where feedback isn't immediate. Because you do the show, or you do your part that you're supposed to, and you think, this part's going to be so funny, or this moment is going to be amazing. And then once it gets released, it turns out that's not what people noticed, or that's not what they found funny. They found these other moments and these other instances of where absolute hilarity, and they'll point them out. And it surprised me. It really would. But I guess that's what it comes with the experience.
Any final thoughts about Tiffany or your experience?
I'd love to play Tiffany again. Playing as a stone-faced woman is not my type of person. I've never had to play that before, and it was fun. Giving somebody just a flat look while they're trying to engage me in a conversation is just so fun.
Well, and your character, I think, was one of the not easier ones to do, but easier ones to do and get a laugh out of it. And so, because some people, I think poor Rachel is the example, because not everybody can be funny. Somebody has to be that straight person who's driving the boat.
Right.
And I think Rachel, more than anybody else, got stuck with that job this time.
Yeah.
So, but somebody has to do it. Okay, so we'll be right back. Enjoy these deleted scenes. The first deleted scene was from episode number 1. We were trying to, I guess I don't know there was we because I wrote it. So I was trying to set up how poor, pitiful Richard was. So there's a line that all you do is watch I Love Lucy reruns and you've gotten fat. And so there's Richard eating Oreos watching I Love Lucy in his supposed New York apartment. So this scene was cut. And then another scene that we couldn't use also from the first episode. So enjoy these two scenes and we'll be right back with Cynthia Alvarado.
Bye.
Him and Avery talked about what swimsuits they're wearing. So obviously they must be friends now. I don't know. I'm just pulling into town.
And?
Well, it's brown and flat, and I have a bunch of other lines to describe Odessa in a horrible way. When I get settled in, I'll send you some pictures.
Please don't. I couldn't bear thinking of my friend in a state that thinks Ted Cruz is an intellect.
Are you alone?
Yeah. Oh, I was just calling to check on you and tell you that you're going to miss a swell party tonight in the village.
Well, don't tell them where I'm at. Tell them I'm dead or Betty Ford or lost at sea.
Righto.
Hey, before you go, guess what? I might actually be thin here.
Richard, what have I told you? A fat person in a room full of fatter people is still fat. Don't ever forget that.
Thank you. Bye.
Later, bro. Who's next?
Okay, welcome back. I'm now joined by Cynthia Alvarado. What character did you play?
Leslie Gutierrez.
Okay, and so your character was originally written for Sarah, and she went on to play a different character because the person who your character was for dropped out, and so you were like a last-minute replacement.
Yes, and I was kind of nervous, but it was fun.
So what made you most nervous? Acting in something that your daughter was acting in, or acting period?
Because I felt like I didn't want to invade her turf, and I didn't want to suck either. I wanted to do my best, but this was always been her thing, was the acting. I've never really acted. I'll act in front of my friends, have fun, make jokes, but it's about the extent of it.
You're only together like in 2 scenes, and neither of these scenes have we seen yet, so I won't talk about them. But so far, there's not one scene where you've actually acted in. Now, one of the scenes that are coming up takes place in a bar where your character and her character actually go, but you don't ever interact. I don't think there's ever a time where you two
have words. Nope.
Mm-mm.
Not at all.
So that that must be kind of interesting, acting like she's this.
Like I don't know her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, there's times I want to, if the hair's out of place or something, or touch her. I kind of just had to, because she wasn't very, very nice to interact with. You couldn't really interact with her.
No, she's not supposed to be
No.
nice. Okay, so what was your favorite scene to film?
To tell you the honest truth, I loved them all. I have to say the crab one was one of my favorite ones. It was something totally outside the box for me to poke fun of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you do it. I've seen you be the butt of your jokes at times, and it was fun, and I was able to do it, and I really shocked myself. I had fun.
Well, sometimes you have to. If you're going to act in an ensemble or in a group, sometimes you have to have that self-deprecating humor, because if you always make fun of other people and never, then
Keeps you humble.
Yeah, it does. So watching myself in this last episode standing next to, especially the profiles, looking at Jerry and then looking at me, and so I'm going like, oh, and so that was really difficult. So there's some things about being on video that, because this will be there for forever. So
And I'll be known as having crabs forever.
forever, yes. Now my favorite scene with you is actually outside, where you're smoking the cigarette and talking to Sarah's character and Jose's character. And so I think that, there's just times there where you're just like the typical office worker, out on your break and trying to get that quick smoke. And so Leslie, I think of any of the characters, she's not really an exaggeration. She is that, that person who comes in, she doesn't do any more than she's supposed to, and the minute it hits 5 o'clock, she's already out the door, because at 4:59 she grabbed her purse.
And she's out.
Well, and then of your fellow characters, so which character does Leslie most get along with?
I don't really think Leslie gets along with anybody too much. I think she just does, gets to get through the day. I mean, she can have, you got to have some fun at working, and, ladies love to talk about other people, and, got to have that cigarette buddy to go out. Sarah I could tell, was more someone that I interacted more with at work, because she was a drunk. She was easy to...
Valerie's kind of wild, yes.
Well, yes. She was a drunk, so she was easy to get along with. I mean, she was the only one that would go out with me to have a cigarette. So that's pretty much who I was getting along with as far as my characters went. So, and then of course Paris, you could never surprise Paris, and she would always surprise you.
If we ever get to do it again, because we don't get to, in such a short time, we don't really get to learn a lot about the characters. Mr. Daniels is the focus, and so we do learn a lot about him, but we don't get to learn a lot about the different characters. And so there's a whole onion of Paris that I'd like to...
The layers.
Yes,
oh, yes.
to
Can
find
you imagine?
out
Yes.
more about her. And so we, in the future, we get to examine Mr. Daniels' personal life, which we haven't really got to do since the first episode. We know that he is a stepbrother. His stepmother took over the company and sent him to Odessa, but we haven't experienced anything else. And so with the addition of him dating and having a roommate, it should be kind of interesting. Now, interesting thing is I never, even though the character is based on myself, I actually had a conversation with Mark, like, I don't know if I'm going to act. I don't know if I want to. So I had him as a backup just in case I chickened out. So I'm glad I did it, but I didn't realize the enormity of the project because Mr. Daniels is almost in every scene. And so you're trying to direct, and you've written, and you're trying to memorize and make sure everybody else is doing everything. And
yeah, I got to see a side of Daniel that I'd never seen before. I mean, you're talking, I go from stage mom and just, coming and seeing the show and give a little bit of feedback, but I got to see you in action. And it's not that you were ugly or mean or anything, but I could see you get agitated and frustrated. And also, too, just to be fair, it's something that you've never done before. Different things you've had to deal with. I mean, doing a play, you rehearse and you rehearse and you rehearse, and you can go back. This was like boom, 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 and we had to, be on cue. Not everybody memorized their lines. Not everybody was on the same page, and I could see the frustration.
Well, I think there's a certain, and if anybody ever tries to do this, there's a certain level of, even though everybody's amateurs, of professionalism that you want, where people before they're seen or looking at their lines or they're ready. And so with me, I may do a scene with Zoe and then go on to do a scene with Dara and then go on to a scene with Eric. And so when I get to the next person, regardless of what I know or don't know, I expect them to know it because they've just sat for 4 hours waiting for this scene. And so sometimes that didn't happen. So you come to the next group or the next people, and they didn't know anything. And so that's kind of aggravating. I would never do it so fast again. That was fast. We were fast because looking at the footage and realizing there's there's not a clear take of certain scenes, and where you have to put scenes together because there's not a clear take is real difficult when you're editing.
Oh, and then also another thing that I thought was hard is we jumped between days. We didn't stay on one day and do all the scenes for that one day, like in the morning, and then do another day in the afternoon and then another day in the evening. It was really hard to keep you on page of what you were wearing on one particular day and then change an outfit for another scene for a particular day and then have to remember what you were wearing the day before, and that was kind of hard. So it was, because I'm sure there's probably times when we weren't wearing the right thing on the right day.
So far, there's only one scene I know, and we had people who volunteered who were going to come and help do these things, like take pictures. Okay, this is what you have on this day, and that's what prop masters and costume people do. We didn't have that, so I would constantly be going up, what am I supposed to be wearing in this scene? I don't know. And there's one scene where there's an issue. Another scene that there's an issue that already happened is with my glasses. And I don't think anybody else wears glasses in any of the episodes. So there's one scene with Rachel where I filmed it one time without my glasses on, and one time where I filmed it with my glasses on. And so when Christopher edited the first time, it's like, and so I forget what the scene is, and so blah 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 blah, cut away, blah blah blah, like the glasses appear
and
they
disappear.
disappeared. And so he had to not everything always goes the way that you plan, and so sometimes you have to film a scene many times. And so we'll end with these scenes of people who they didn't get it quite right. So thank you for watching Aileen in West Texas. Our next episode will be on Monday, episode 5, and we'll be halfway through the series. And so stay tuned as we continue to explore the characters and we figure out what's going to happen to Mr. Daniels. I stepped on your line again. Let's just keep going. Should we keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. You start.
I think we're on. Yes, sir. I spent my years in college.
Did I skip ahead?
Yeah.
Oh, so Christopher.
Sir.
Can you... Christopher, so are you the...
Most often, teachers... You should probably say hello to everybody else so we can properly get acquainted.
Well, hello everyone.
They're a bit drunk.
I don't mind.
Well, Christopher, what's your penis's name?
You missed the funniest bit.
Oh, I forgot.
Say it with enthusiasm.
Oh.
Well, Chris...
JB, or in the worst case scenario, 36AB. It will work in a pinch. I'm sorry it sounds like a load of crap, but them be the rules.
No, you're repeating yourself.
I know it sounds...
Democrats.
Okay. What's my first line?
So... Son of a bitch! That threw me off.
I'm okay with your mistrust. I am not judging you.
Thank you. Good.
Do I hold her hand too, or should I?
Yeah, you're gonna grab her hand.
So I need to grab.
Next!